If to talk about the current year, about 2023, what are the main trends and prediction for the adoption of intelligent automation in source to pay?
Well, it's a very good question, right? Because as you're rightly saying, companies are already on their journey for a while, and some of them will actually come back and tell you, well, but we've already implemented one of the large suites, right? So why do I need to do that, right? But actually, what is in view for this year is really taking advantage of scaling automation beyond just, let's say, fragmented use cases, but more into hyper automation, right? Which is end-to-end processes automated with all means you have in the toolbox. So really looking at, how could you actually reimagine a process so that it starts already off with an intake, which is electronic data, and how does it then actually get transacted through the activities with the support of not just RPA, but with AI and some of the other levers you may have as well, in order to offer up a better experience for your user with the means of a virtual agent or with the means as well of tracking capabilities of workflows. So really re-looking at process journeys and re-looking with that at the abilities of layering, whole chains of processes into automation is, I think, where the focus this year will go. And this goes a little bit away from the last few years where there was experimentation happening, there was scaling of RPA just as a singular use case, but concatenation of use cases with AI potentially were not yet possible because the maturity of the solutions were not really there. So one of the big trends, hyper automations, closing the gaps within source to pay where they are, right? And at the same time, returning as well back, a good user experience to users by giving them access to, just AI recommendations, but then as well the ability to interact potentially with agents or more productivity as well through ingested and as well, let's say, intelligently converted information, such as, for instance, the data which gets captured within the supplier process. The second
Yes,
trend, which I would, sorry, Karyna?
Yeah, sorry, just to summarize what you said, I wanted to add that during the past couple of years, I see a lot of indicators that speed up the process of adoption automation in the company, such as, for example, COVID, of course, changed our life.
Yes.
We started to do everything remotely. And a couple other things, like you mentioned, maturity of the processes. Companies feel that they already adopted different solutions, such as ERP solution, cloud solutions, CRM solutions, and now they feel that there is something more they can do to optimize and automate their processes.
And you know what is really driving this? Besides the fact that the pandemic obviously now has changed the mindset of people as well, right? Before that, I remember when we were
Yes.
going to suppliers, asking them to send us an electronic invoice or send us an invoice in a PDF, many were coming back saying, hey, this is extra effort for us, right? The pandemic really changed that narrative. Now, right now, suppliers are coming back and saying, how can I do more streamlined activities with you? I've got a lot of people who are tired. They want to have a better work experience as well. For them to actually go and actually, manually send you things or do activities which are not automated are not helping us either, right? So the narrative
Yes.
around the pandemic has really liberated digitalization and digitalization of processes, right? But then you have as well this whole discussion around employee experience, right? There's a lot of people involved in processes which are manual, which are tedious. They want to be actually employed to deliver value from a procurement perspective. They want to talk to their business partners about possible solutions for cost reduction, for supply relationships, innovation they potentially could actually bring in from these relationships they have. They won't necessarily deal with all of these exceptions and really handle them and kind of track POs, right? I think that's probably something which in the past, like when I started my career was kind of interesting, but by now I think most people, they really want to go to the next step, right? So that mindset is really starting to shift as well. So we're talking about hyperautomation. This was one of the first trends. And maybe just to add another one, right, which is, I think, quite evident as well right now in the conversations, and you may actually know that as well as me, right, is generative AI, right? And I think there's this big question. What is this going to do within the space of intelligent automation? What is it going to do for source to pay, right? So actually, this will be interesting this year in 2023 to uncover the use cases which are going to help us understand how all of these AI-based solutions can potentially help us to get to the next mile, right? And that means giving possibilities then for processes such as sourcing to actually be almost not autonomously run, but be run as well with a support of a generative AI chatbot, for instance, right? And with that, have the ability of spilling out specifications faster, building RFPs, let's say in a shorter time frame, but then as well have this whole responsing and awarding process with suppliers as well supported based on rules and as well with the human involved where necessary, right? So this is going to be super interesting as well in my point of view.
I like the second point even more than the first one because yes, quite a lot of hype around this ChatGPT and generative AI right now at the moment, and we see that competition is started. Like different companies are trying to introduce better and better models, which is quite good for us as end users because then we will receive better and better results. And then it's quite interesting how we can embed these solutions inside of our automated already business processes or even business processes to see a real time insights about, like, for example, I can ask this bot about when will be the end date of my contract or something like this. I'm trying to imagine the future, and it's good that you brought it here as well.
Yeah, and I think
Yes.
this all connects somehow back to data, right? And I think this is kind of number three I would mention, which is, again, in procurement, there's a lot of data, right? There's spend data, there's spend patterns, there's business unit information, there's supplier information. There is as well kind of consumption information, so demand and supply information, which you can bring together then to as well, provide insights to the organization on what works, what doesn't, potentially, what you see in terms of trends coming in already. And with that, advise as well your supply chain organization, manufacturing, or potential commercial organization on better business models as well. So really pimping up, if I may say that word, your business partnering will be maybe possible as well with a lot of this data flow, which is now with AI being able to be tapped into, and with the insights you can generate from the information you have at your finger points, really. Yeah.